Hey everybody, I'm Todd Bailey with SEOservices.com. Happy Casual Friday to you. I'm joined today with Phillip Brooks, who is Department Head of the Content Development Team. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, glad to be here.
I must say that is a wonderful mustache you're supporting in efforts for the Movember Foundation for Prostate Cancer.
That's correct. I was happy to lend my face to a charitable feature, and it's nice to be able to help out by doing something pretty much simply as sleeping late every day and not spending an extra few minutes grooming myself. So.
You wear it quite well.
Thank you.
Well done. So let's talk a little bit about content and why it's important. Really, let's start at the basics. What is content?
Well, content in the context of what we do here on a daily basis is creating content, creating options for the pages or words for the pages. It's kind of a holistic viewpoint. We're not just putting text on the pages. We're putting images. We're putting aspects of design. We're including aspects of art, video, and things like that. So it's an amalgam of all kinds of different features. However, in the context of what I do on a daily basis, what we're doing is creating text for the pages that is both appealing to the end user as well as to the bots that crawl for the search engines.
Right. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a little bit. So what's the difference between content marketing and copywriting?
Sure. Copywriting is essentially a subset of content marketing. It's a skill that's honed as part of an overall value package as a content marketer. As I alluded to earlier, the copywriter has a huge part to do with what you're doing when you're creating content for a page. My immediate group that I supervise, that's what they do on a daily basis, is create written content for pages. So what we try to do is optimize those pages for both SEO value and readability, so that they're not just keywords being stuffed into a phrase. That they stand on their own merits and have a value for the reader that will make people want to share that content, because that's really what we're ultimately looking for. Because the search engines nowadays really put value on content that is shared and disseminated amongst their users, and that's one of the things that Panda's really kind of drilled into our heads, is that we want to make content that stands on its own.
Yeah, and is that the answer to this next question, which is my million-dollar question? Why is content so important to the SEO bots?
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely correct. I mean it's one of the things that I like to explain to clients is that we're working in a situation where we don't actually have control over the algorithms that the search engines use, but we have a series of best practices that we know are effective. And one of the things that makes us fairly unique in this space is that we're so agile. We can back up and make changes based on what we find that suddenly starts to work, or we start to lose effectiveness or traction. So one of the things that that I try to do every day is look and see how the content that I'm doing is being recognized, and see what we're creating on a daily basis is getting shared and being retweeted and being posted to Facebook and things like that, because that's ultimately what we're looking for.
Yeah, it is somewhat of a monumental task, and we think about an editor and some of the algorithms and how important grammar is related to content. Why don't you just talk a little bit about that fine line? How do you balance content between the user versus the SEO bot?
Sure. Oh, I think one of the most important things to keep in mind is that the content needs to be razor focused, and by that I mean is the page itself has a context, and that context is important for both sides of the coin. The user, when they go there, want to know exactly what is going to be on that page based on all the context, includes the meta tags, the URL itself, and in a lot of ways the bots work the same way. What the bot will do in connecting those particular resources together and say, as a whole, this is demonstrative of a particular theme for this page, and therefore it's focused on this issue. When the user lays eyes on the same contents, it's essentially the same thing, but obviously there's just more of an amalgam of the visual stimulus, the video, what's on the text. So they kind of work the same way. It's just that they have different means at which to arrive at the same conclusion.
Yeah, and that conclusion is often difficult when you're managing a client. Why don't you talk a little bit about managing clients and educating them on the SEO value versus that front end appearance.
Sure. A lot of times, we do achieve, we do get to the point where part of what we do is educating our clients on what SEO is and what it isn't. A lot of times, germane to what I do on a daily basis is we generate a lot of offsite hosted articles and written content of that nature that has a specific value for SEO, while it may be a little bit more difficult to see, the content itself as something that exists in and of itself. But it has the linking value that we're shooting for when we're creating offsite articles and tasks and things like that. But what we're trying to do ultimately is create high page rank links full of content that is, related to the client themselves, but also give them the ability to, they're still readable. They still have, value in and of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Can never forget about the links. And what about social? How do you integrate that with content?
Sure. One of the big things that we do here is article marketing. So, that's something that we definitely work on when we create content, when we create articles, utilizing social media to disseminate those amongst the client base. For example, if we have a client, we want to make sure that they're fully immersed in the social media space. So we have all those avenues available to us and to them to disseminate the content we're creating for them. So, anything that we feel is relevant, we're going to put up for them on their Facebook page. We're going to retweet, we're going to Twitter, we're going to use their blogs or, offsite blogs that we also make a lot of use out of as well. We have a lot of blogging partners that we can make use of to, create relevant and high page rank links by retweeting, by sharing that information as well. So we have a lot of different, tactics that we can use to take social media and utilize it as much as possible for SEO value.
Wow, that's great. And to be honest, with all the videos that we do here at SEOservices.com, this could be one of the more important ones, because Google tells us specifically that content is king. They want to serve up the most relevant results for that query. So why don't you just leave us with a tip? Is there any tips that you have regarding content?
Sure. I think one of the things that Todd actually touched on there, and this is a maxim that we all live by, is that content is in fact king. What I like to do is kind of take the actual side of explaining how sales works, which is that in creating a sales proposal, you're creating content that you're using to appeal to a specific voice or a specific consumer, and ultimately that's sort of the same model we want to do with our content. We want to appeal to consumers, as this is an important resource that we want to share with other consumers or share with other users, and that in the end will make that content shareable, and therefore give it a much more increased social presence over the net and increased social media value as well.
I love it. That's great. Really targeting the audience and focusing on who you are targeting. So that's great. Phillip Brooks, Head of Content Development. Thanks. I appreciate you coming in. Again, I'm Todd Bailey with SEOservices.com, and happy Casual Friday to you.
Everybody.